Welcome back. We're talking still about testicular cancer. It is a highly treatable type of cancer with an exceptional cure rate, and if found and treated early enough, it can save your life. Now, let's talk about, the reality of now you're having one of your testes removed. Do you ever think about, what about family? At 30, were you in a relationship already? Did you have any children?
I wasn't in a relationship. And I think the cancer cut back on that for a while because trying to deal with the cancer, there was a time where I didn't accept my body because after chemo I picked up weight quite a lot and then just one testis instead of two. So it feels like a little bit part of manhood was cut away. And then the fear that cancer returned, so I didn't want anybody to get close to me. So I was on my own. I even resigned and went traveling for 2 years just to come for a
your self-esteem.
Yeah, everything.
Takes it down slowly.
Yeah, you're not feeling well in your own skin because you have to deal with too many things. You suddenly realize you don't like your work anymore, and you don't want to get anybody. Oh, that's how
you felt. Yeah,
getting close to me. And when I decided I'd go backpacking for 2 years, before I did that, I got an implant, my rubber ball, I call it in my book. And I know the one is fake, but it looks normal. And I did all kinds of things just that life is normal again, that I don't have these reminders of cancer. So seeing yourself naked in front of a mirror, just with one testis, was always like, I look like this because of cancer. Now it looks normal, although I know it's fake, but it looks normal. So that gave me a lot of...
So bringing the situation close as possible to normal.
Exactly. And also like eating. I eat healthy, but at the beginning you read all kinds of things, eat this and don't eat that and whatever. And I reached a stage where I thought, well, I'd just like to live a balanced, normal life. I don't want to think every time I take something out of the shelf, should I or isn't, or should I? I just want to, if I feel like a pizza, then I have a pizza. And keep everything in balance. And I live like this. I eat healthy, I exercise a lot. I must say I only started exercising when I moved to Cape Town, like 8 years ago. But before the time, it was difficult to accept your body. And well, I'm single and I don't have children, but I'm happy. So it's not that I say, okay, because of cancer I don't have this.
It's a choice that you have made. Now, Michael, for a person who they've gone through the journey, they've gotten to a place where they now self-accept, before even making the decision to have surgery, is there an option of perhaps saving the sperm before the surgery? And can one have children with just one testicle?
Yes, but unfortunately I don't think enough information is always given. Although Torsten told me that in his case they did tell him immediately that, you know, there's a possibility that you may be infertile because of the treatment. So let's think of cryopreservation of sperm. That means freezing, getting a sperm sample, maybe 1 or 2 samples, and getting them frozen. And one can just go onto the internet and Google the word cryopreservation semen, and up will come 10, 12, 15 different groups or organizations within the country, and one can contact one of them for the best price and whatever, negotiate, and have a sample. So if you should one day decide to get married or to have children, in wedlock or outside wedlock, which is fine with me.
At least you are sure that
the sperm is available,
your own sperm.
And you can have an in vitro fertilization or whatever, and you can have children of your own.
Now, I know that you've made a decision and choice that, I'm single, I love my life, I'm okay. But surely there must have been a time when you opened yourself to the possibility of a relationship.
I just want to come back to that. I went to have sperm cells frozen as well because you don't know what's happening. And after the treatment, a year later, I went for testing again and the sperm production was normal again. So I'd just like to tell the guys, even with one
testis, you can be able to.
In my book, I say a pistol only needs one magazine to hit the target. So one testis is enough to have children. I had the thoughts, but it was never, well, my life went that way that I said, well, I love it that way.
Now, for a person who comes up to you and perhaps seeking assistance, because people are not only going to seek assistance on things that you have gone through, oftentimes it would be things that you have not experienced, but they're just seeking solace and advice. That how do I get to a point where I'm accepting me and I'm allowing myself to be exposed to an outside world?
I think what I did with going and travel and work through my emotions, I had allowed my feelings that normally a lot of men don't do.
Absolutely. Imagine going to a gym.
Yeah. So it was, I started crying when typing, so I let my emotions come out and allow them, I allowed my feelings.
Yeah.
And that actually helped me to deal with my situation and accept the way I am and what happened to me. And since then, I'm really fine. And even today, if I make decisions, well, I'm not teaching it as the teacher anymore because I thought, well...
Now you've got a different kind of teaching calling now.
Yeah, but at the moment I still work as a graphic designer. So I was a teacher, now I'm a graphic designer. So I thought, well, I had enough of teaching, and I really do in life what I love to do. I listen to, or I try to get there, and it normally works. If you're not happy in the situation where you are, just deal with the situation and don't try to ignore it, because it keep on knocking till you solve the problem. And that was cancer with me. It knocked on my door all the time, and it made me a depressed person. I later had a conversation with my cancer. I always said to him, well, you had your chance, you didn't get me, move on.
And I love the phrase that I only have one ball because the other one tried to kill me.
Yeah,
and I got rid of it.
Yeah. So, and then, dealing with your feelings and love or do what you love to do, and then you can cope with cancer then.
And I hope you heard that, gentlemen, that it's okay to cry. Now, let's talk about support groups. How do you avoid a situation where it's more about comparing wounds? My wound is bigger than yours, but rather, I mean, every time I asked you a question, Michael, you went back to information is power.
Because information is really power, and it just takes away everything else, because you've got a solid foundation as background, and you just fall back on what I know, and whatever you hear, you weigh up against what you know is the truth and what the facts are. And then the myths will fall by the wayside, because there are so many myths floating around, and people come up with terrible stories like Torsten has just said, don't eat this, don't do that. This is dangerous. And
it
it's
can
enough
terrify you and let you just walk away from...
Enough to drive anybody crazy. Live a balanced lifestyle, eat healthy, drink healthy, live healthy, and be healthy.
Let's talk about the health aspect. How does that help the body to actually fight off the disease? And why, healthy eating is so important? Yeah,
healthy eating and exercising. I was 2 years ago, I was in England for a testicular cancer awareness hike up a mountain. And we were 250 testicular cancer survivors from all around the world we met there. And there were a lot of guys who needed a hormone treatment because the testosterone level was too low. And I thought, well, I can't remember that they tested me 20 years ago. And as you grow older, then your testosterone level goes down. So when I was back in Cape Town, I went to my doctor and said to him, well, I'd better get this tested, because if I have to get treatment or medication for that I start in time and not when it's too low and I have to get really strong stuff. So he tested me and then called me in 2 days later and said, well, your testosterone level is actually too high. And I say, how come? These guys, all the other survivors, all of them, it's too low. And then I'm linked to a testicular cancer survivor and a professor in Belfast, and he did his studies on the whole hormone influence. And so messaged him and said, how come? And then he saw what I did on Facebook because I was running comrades and things. And he said to me, because you're so active, you actually, that one test is, because your muscles needs testosterone to grow. So it's working and it's producing. So it actually shows if you're active, it's healthy for your body because it keeps the system going. A lot of these survivors, they're not active sport-wise and most probably just couch potatoes, so that the level drops so much that they need treatment at the end of the day. So I think just eat healthy and exercise, then it helps a lot.
And I guess, Michael, we couldn't emphasize more about loving life and wanting to live.
Absolutely. And you know, usually one of the first things that I ask somebody who is a cancer survivor, I will say to him or her, how many years are we celebrating today? Because that is so important, to celebrate life.
Give me a number to look
Every
forward
morning
to.
you get up and you say, what a wonderful life, what a wonderful world. I've got this gift of life, and let me keep it healthy and keep it strong, and the future is mine.
What do you know for sure?
I think if you really do what you love to do, then everything falls into place. Cancer was a rough, tough journey. I didn't want anybody to go through this, but what it taught me is, it made my life more intense. I often use an apple as an example. I say, before I had cancer, I ate an apple because I was hungry. After cancer, I still eat an apple when I'm hungry, but I think, tastes nice. So there's that little bit of extra. So
now you have a different relationship with what you eat.
Yeah, and you appreciate things more. If it's a rainy day in Cape Town and people complaining, they'll say, well, we need the water too. Just imagine it's not raining, the vineyards will die, and we don't have wine to drink, so let it rain.
Let it rain.
Yeah, so
even
it's
in life. I mean, that analogy works indeed. That there's always two sides to any story. There's always good and bad.
Yeah.
Factors that might influence the development of testicular cancer include undescended testes from birth, family history of cancer, previous occurrences of testicular cancer, and also Down syndrome. Stay with us, we continue with this conversation.